All right, so in this session, we'll see what is the type 1 and type 2 error, right? So it is the most important concepts in the hypothesis testing. What is the type 1 and type 2 error? Also, I will demonstrate you what is the confusion matrix, right? So to understand the confusion matrix, you need to you need to better understand what is the type 1 and type 2 error. Now, let's say I have a null hypothesis, which is the coin is fair, right? Null hypothesis says that the coin is fair. Alternate hypothesis says that coin is unfair. Now, there would be, in this scenario, we would have total 4 outcomes. So the first outcome could be outcome 1. We reject the null hypothesis. However, in reality, it is. So the first outcome that we can have is that we reject the null hypothesis, but in reality, it is false, right? So we reject the null hypothesis and in reality it is false. Then our null hypothesis is like we have done something hypothesis correctly, right? So it is a good result, right? So in actual it is false and we also reject the null hypothesis, then it is good. What would be our outcome number 2? We accept the null hypothesis and in the reality it is true. So outcome 2 can be that in reality that our null hypothesis, which is the coin is fair, is true, right? It is fair. And we also predicted through our hypothesis testing that we accept we accept that the null hypothesis is true. So in reality it is also true, then it is quite good, right? Outcome number 3, it can be that we reject the null hypothesis. However, in reality, it is true, right? So in reality, it is true, but we reject the null hypothesis. So we have done our calculations through hypothesis testing and we found out that the null hypothesis is not true. It is our prediction, but in reality, it is true. We can understand this with the help of an example. So have you watched movies, right? In a movies, there are sometimes there are court cases, right? In a court cases, and the person, example, I'm taking just an example, is that in a court case, a person has committed a crime, right? So in reality, a person has committed a crime, but he has been declared an innocent, right? So in this case, it has been declared as an innocent, right? And he has been released. However, he has committed a crime, right? Person So a person has committed a crime, but he has been released. In actual, he has committed a crime, right? But in our predictions, according to our hypothesis, he hasn't committed a crime, so we just release him, right? So in this case, we reject the null hypothesis by saying that no, he hasn't committed a crime, and we accept the alternate hypothesis. Okay, he is an innocent person, right? So outcome number 4. Now in outcome number 4 could be that we accept the null hypothesis, but in reality it is false, right? So a person in a court case, a person hasn't committed a crime, but he has been put in jail. So he has been put in jail, right? So there are many cases like when a person is not wealthy or he's poor or he's not in power. So if he has committed a crime, he hasn't committed a crime, sorry, but he has been put in jail, right? Or he has been awarded a death sentence, right? So this would be the 4 outcomes, right? So if I take the same example, that if a null hypothesis, let's say if I change my question according to our example, person has committed a crime, right? And then I would say that person is innocent, right? So if I change my question, so I've changed my question again, person has committed a crime, and our alternate hypothesis says that the person is innocent. So outcome one could be that we reject the null hypothesis and reality it is false. What it means that in the null hypothesis we says no, the person hasn't committed a crime, he is innocent, and in reality he is actually innocent. So this is our outcome one. Outcome number two says that we accept the null hypothesis and in reality it is true. What does that mean? It means that the person has committed a crime, we accept that, and in actual he has committed a crime, right? He has committed a crime. So this could be our outcome number two. In outcome number three, we say is that we reject the null hypothesis, but in reality it is true. So a person has committed a crime, it is true, but according to our null hypothesis, we reject and we conclude that no, the person is innocent, right? In outcome number four, we accept the null hypothesis, but in reality, it is false. It means that a person hasn't committed a crime, but we think, and according to our hypothesis, he has, right? So these are four outcomes of our null hypothesis or our hypothesis testing. Now, if you understand all of these four, then we can easily understand our confusion matrix. In our four outcomes, outcome number three and outcome number four. So what is the null, what is like type 1 and type 2 error? So outcome number three we have is the type 1 error, right? So outcome number three, in which we reject the null hypothesis, but in reality it is true, right? We reject the null hypothesis, but in reality it is true. It is the type 1 error. Okay, so in type 2 error, it is outcome number four, in which we accept the null hypothesis, but in reality it is false. So these are type 1 and type 2 errors, right? Now, if you understand this thing, then we can easily jump into the confusion matrix. All right. So in our confusion matrix, we have, so in here, I have this predicted or our hypothesis values, that is the accept null hypothesis and they reject null hypothesis. And there are actual values, which is null hypothesis is actually true or false, right? So according to our outcome number one, what we are doing, reject the null hypothesis and reality it is false. So outcome number one would be reject the null hypothesis and actually it is false. So this is our outcome number one. If I say outcome number two, that accept the null hypothesis and reality it is true. So we accept the null hypothesis and reality it is true. So it is like outcome number two we have. Now in a type 1 and type 2 error, with type 1 error which says that reject the null hypothesis, but in reality it is true. So we reject the null hypothesis and in reality it is true. So in this here region, it is a false positive, right? False positive means that we reject the null hypothesis, but in reality it is true. So this is, we have the type 1 error. So this is, here we have a type 1 error, right? And again, in outcome number four, we have accept the null hypothesis, but in reality it is false. So we accept the null hypothesis, but in reality it is false, right? So here what we have, so it is type 2 error, right? So we have type 1 error and here we have type 2 error, right? So these two things, accept the null hypothesis and actually, and these are right correct readings. But in these two reasons, right, reject the null hypothesis and actually it is true, or we accept the null hypothesis and actually it is false. So these are the main things, right? So this is our confusion matrix, and it is quite important when you are doing any kind of classification problem in machine learning, right? You may see this diagram some differently in Google or any other source, but you need to just understand it. If you place it like this, if you place like predicted values somewhere, you will see that predicted values are on this axis and actually actual values are on this here. But if you know the basics, if you know all of these things, then you would never be confused, right? So I hope you understand this type 1 and type 2 error, also the confusion matrix, and I hope you understand this session. Thank you.